Can you tell me the easiest way to actually stop scrolling on TikTok? It's not deleting the app, it's not enabling grayscale, and it's not even willpower training. It's something called dopamine regulation. 2 years ago, I scrolled on TikTok for hours every single day, even though I was supposed to be on self-improvement. Nowadays, my screen time is 30 minutes a day, and I spend none of that time on TikTok or on any social media. In this video, I want to give you the most important lesson about all of this that I've learned on this journey. So when I was 15 years old in late 2022, I found out about self-improvement. I've seen all the guys pop off online, the Andrew Tate, David Goggins, all these hard, disciplined guys. And I wanted to become more like them. I wanted to become more productive with my time. I didn't just want to be like a normal waste of space loser who just chases women and, chases girls my age, not fucking women, but chases girls and tries to climb the little social ladder at my school and stuff, tries to get more popular, tries to, I go to some sports sometimes, just like a normal kid, And I wanted to become the guy that I know I was supposed to be, I wanted to respect myself more, because I just been with a girl from my school, and I fucked it up completely because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know anything about red pill, about, just how I was a blue pill little bitch, basically. So I tried starting these good habits. I started going to the gym, actually, and I started doing cold showers. I started even boxing in the beginning of 2023. And by the way, with the cold showers, I have not had a hot shower since then. I have had over 1,000 cold showers in a row, and yeah, it's been like, what is it, like 2.5 years basically. So that's just one thing. But I had all these good habits that I was doing. I was being sort of productive with my time, but then also I had some bad habits that were sort of handbrakes on me. If you're in a car and you're accelerating forward, but then you have the handbrake on as well, like you can't accelerate and slow down at the same time, then you're just stuck at zero. And that was basically how it was for me. And I made little to zero progress in, for example, the gym at the time. And one of the big habits that I was into was scrolling on TikTok, because I discovered it like about 2 years earlier, and recently my feed had been aligned a lot more to my new values, which was like discipline and motivation and stuff like that. Andrew Tate, David Goggins, Jocko Willink, these guys. And I used to watch TikTok a lot, and I actually thought it was slightly like a bit productive, because I would like learn stuff. I'd learn from these guys talking, and I'd see edits of Patrick Bateman and stuff. You can probably relate to this, right? But I came to the conclusion that it wasn't enough, because I basically had to go through 10 brain dead TikToks of some girl shaking her fucking ass or some shit like that, or some retard talking about some bullshit movie, or whatever TikToks, in order to get to the one that I was gonna learn from. And even that one, like, you don't learn much from short form content in general. You don't actually do that, because it's so like short of a content. Like, you can't learn from that shit, So I tried quitting, because I realized that it wasn't for me. I shouldn't be doing that shit. And I tried just using my willpower, using my normal discipline, and just delete the app and not do it. But what would happen was that I would snap back a lot. I would get into these fucking mini ruts. Like, I'd come home after school, and I'd go to the gym, for example. I would eat a little meal, some oats or some shit. Then I'd come home after the gym, and I'd have like 2 hours until bedtime, from like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever. And I just find myself not really knowing what to do. I was kind of bored. I grab my phone, lay on the fucking couch or some shit, start scrolling, start wasting my time. And I got into these mini ruts quite a lot. It kind of felt like I had a rubber band that I was pulling like this, but then at a certain point it's gonna snap back, because you can't pull the rubber band into infinity. It's gonna break or it's gonna snap back. And for me, like, it snapped back. And basically what that means is that I would change nothing else in my life apart from the habit that I wanted to get rid of. I wanted to stop scrolling on TikTok, stop wasting hours of my life every single day. But I changed nothing else. I just decided that I was gonna do that. But it didn't work, and I found myself snapping back into these mini ruts, and it was very annoying for me. And I realized that if I continued like this, I would become a shell of the man that I was supposed to be. I found it intolerable and unacceptable to keep going like this, because I was so into the flow of things. I was so disciplined and like into this grind sort of lifestyle when I was in the gym and stuff. I really felt that shit. But it's so weird because I'd have these moments where I just indulge in bullshit TikTok, you know, and yeah, it was fucking annoying for me. But then I started watching more educational long-form content on YouTube, actually. And I found a guy called Hamza Ahmed. You probably know him, right? He's a big self-improvement creator in this space. And one of the things that he said in one of his videos was that, or in a lot of his videos, was that bad habits like scrolling on TikTok, for example, is not actually the problem. It is a symptom of the real problem, which is poor mental health. And I was kind of taken aback by this, but it made sense to me. Like, if your mental health is all fucked up, if you're constantly bored or like lonely or tired and you don't have any energy at all, like obviously you're gonna revert back to the easiest thing, which is just scrolling. And I realized that mental health in and of itself, at least in this context, is actually all about how your dopamine levels are, and all of these emotions that get you to start scrolling, like boredom, loneliness, tired, like tired, like when you're tired, they all stem from overstimulation and fucking up your dopamine receptors. So you've probably heard about dopamine quite a lot in the last 2 years if you've been into this space. But basically, dopamine is kind of like motivation, or that's what it is. That's your dopamine is literally your motivation. So what happens when we scroll a lot is that we swipe, and then because we're rewarded, like we get some sort of pleasure feeling from this little TikTok, our brain sends signals to us to keep doing it, to do it again and again and again. So we get a lot of motivation to keep going. Dopamine is not actually about the pleasure, which you might think. It's about the motivation, the drive, the pursuit, the hunt. So when we fuck up our dopamine receptors like this, when we scroll on TikTok, what happens is that we spike our dopamine levels. Let's say we have 100 dopamine points, just for clarity, right? Simplification, to quantify it. We have 100 dopamine points. We have 100 motivation. If we go onto TikTok and scroll, we boost that shit up to 150, 200, 250. We might even be like in a complete flow state, just like this mouth breathing, not even being aware of the time or anything else. Just we're focused on the scrolling, and we boost that shit up to 300. But then the interesting and the key thing that happens after that is that our brain, like it's some sciencey shit, but basically the dopamine levels, they drop below the original baseline after you've finished doing the activity that gave you the spike. So when you put your phone down and it's time to go to the gym, you're overstimulated as fuck, and you don't have the motivation to go to the gym. And it's like, the reason that this happens is that our brains are sort of like they're wired to adapt to our circumstance, to our environment, right? And if we constantly give it a bunch of dopamine, then it's gonna sort of become familiar to that thing, and that's gonna become our new baseline. That's really all we need to know. And then everything else that is not as stimulating as that thing, which is scrolling on TikTok in this context, they become really boring and we don't have any drive to do them. So for example, with going to the gym, I might come home from school when I was younger and I would start scrolling, and then I'd skip the gym because I didn't have any motivation really. To myself, I thought obviously some productive sort of thing, like, yeah man, I really would need a rest day today. You know, some normal bullshit like that. But like, and we can say to ourselves that we can use discipline. Obviously we can do that. But the thing with dopamine is that when we fuck up our dopamine levels enough, we don't just start not desiring the activity, like going to the gym. We also stop desiring the thing that the activity is going to get us, the result, which is, for example, the physique, which is a horrible place to be in. Like, it's not like, understand me, right? When your dopamine levels are fucked, you stop desiring the end result. You can probably relate to some time like where you don't really give a shit about the big goal, like building the business or getting the good grades. You're like, whatever, I don't really give a shit. That is a dopamine issue. When you have a healthy level of dopamine, like a high baseline, because not a high spike but a high baseline, when you have that, you have so much more motivation in your life, and you have so much more drive for the long term as well. So I realized that if we can improve our mental health and, and sort of, or through regulating our dopamine levels and not overstimulating ourselves, we are going to quit doom scrolling automatically, because we don't need to do it. There are other things that are stimulating enough for us that we're going to go to, you know. Because when your dopamine levels are so fucked, what happens is that like you can't do anything else, because nothing else is stimulating enough for your brain, and you just naturally go back to the thing that's the easiest, because our brains are wired for laziness, you know. So I realized that, and I had to make some change. And obviously this issue is that if we want to quit scrolling, which is an activity that gives us a lot of dopamine, that's sort of a flywheel. Like we scroll more, and then we get more dopamine, and we spike the dopamine, and we fuck everything up. So it's this downward spiral. So what I realized that I needed to do was I had to look around in the rest of my life and see what other bad habits was I doing that kept increasing my dopamine levels, and then which caused the baseline to go down, to plummet, right, to fuck up everything. And then also I realized that in order to do this successfully, I had to replace the bad habits with something else. I had to fill up my time with productive habits, you know. I had to, which I was doing obviously, but I had to fill them up with some more activities and some like the sort of things that would generate really good mental health for me. And I did that. I realized that creating a what's called a timetable, like a calendar, a planning for your day hour by hour, was a very effective method for that. So I would go into Google Calendar and just plot out the things that I should, like my ideal day basically. I would wake up at 7, have my morning routine, I'd a cold shower, I'd do some self-improvement, mental health habits, then I'd go to school, come home, eat some food, go to the gym, do some boxing, maybe do some work on my business, for example, my side hustle that I was trying out. And I just made an ideal week for me. So you can do that in Google Calendar. Like I went into that the software, and I just wrote everything out, what I was gonna do, and what I thought would be the ideal day for me. And if I just stuck to the plan and followed it, it would be impossible for me to indulge in doom scrolling, because I obviously wouldn't write that shit down to, like, I wouldn't want to do that. And I quit scrolling effortlessly, really. It didn't become this sort of willpower battle that I had to engage in 24/7. It was kind of like I reset my dopamine levels to a healthy level, and my brain just stopped giving a shit about the sort of, is that a fucking deer? I think it's a deer in the forest here. Fuck yeah. But when I reset my dopamine levels, like, your brain stops caring about these overstimulating things, and it's so much easier to quit it that way, obviously. I became more productive. I regained hours of my life every single day, and I actually decided to put that into martial arts, like those sort of the hours that I'd regained. I decided that I wanted to go all in on martial arts. So I started training like 1 to 2 hours a day. And a couple of weeks ago, I had 3 fights in a single day, you know. So I earned my own respect. I quit these fucking gay, overstimulating habits, and I was able to quit doom scrolling on TikTok as a result of that. So now I don't have any problems with that shit whatsoever. Like I never ever scroll. I never find myself re-downloading the TikTok app onto my phone. I've eliminated that problem from my life entirely, which I'm so grateful for. So the overarching strategy, like the thing that I want to pass on to you in this video, is that we scroll on TikTok because of poor mental health. When we improve our mental health, when we upgrade it, when we level it up, we stop wanting to do it, because we have other things in our lives that is more interesting. Like because you can see the rewards that you're going to get from them in the future. Like when your dopamine levels are fucked, when your mental health is fucked, you crave these stimulating activities like scrolling on TikTok, and you see the other productive habits that is actually going to give you something in the long run as too hard, really. So if we can improve our mental health, we will stop scrolling on TikTok automatically as a result, you know. And poor mental health comes from overstimulation. So when we spike our dopamine levels too much, and then they plummet back down to a below the original baseline and form a new baseline of motivation. We don't have any motivation to do stuff in our lives, and that's when we get all these feelings of boredom, of anxiety, of loneliness, that ultimately make us go and scroll because we want to go into escapism, really. And we reverse overstimulation with dopamine regulation. So we start doing better habits that are not as dopaminergic, that are healthy, that improve our mental health, that kind of stuff, and we replace the bad habits with those. And I implemented this through having a timetable, which I would highly recommend for you as well, that you go into Google Calendar and you plot everything out when you're going to do the productive habits, so you never fall into doom scrolling by accident, if that makes sense. And we want to remove idle time, which is basically time that we don't know what to do with, that we just normal free time. You come home from school, you have a couple of hours until it's time to go to the gym or some shit with your friends. Idle time, they say it in the Bible, idle time is the devil's workshop. So when we don't have a task at hand, when we don't have a goal to strive for, it's so much harder to resist bad habits, because it's so easy to go and do them because there's no friction. There's no friction to scrolling. You can just do it and get an immediate reward. That's why it's so addicting. And so if we can regulate our dopamine levels, and we can improve our mental health, and we can have a timetable, a calendar, a planning for everything we're going to do, all the productive habits, it's going to be so much easier to stop scrolling on TikTok. And by the way, if you want me to walk you through every single step of the way to stop scrolling on TikTok, I'm currently making a paid program called No Scroll Protocol, where I cover all the details of how I did it. It's on a pre-sale right now, so if you want to, you can lock in a 50% discount while I'm making it. It's linked in the description. You can go have a look at it right now if you want to. Now I want to get into the specifics of how to actually implement this dopamine regulation. So we want to remove all other bad habits from our life that fucks up our mental health and sort of fucks up our dopamine levels as well. So things like pornography, masturbation, junk food, movies, shows, video games, alcohol, partying, that kind of stuff. If you have anything like that in your life else, which chances are you probably do, then when you remove them, it's going to be so much easier to quit scrolling on TikTok, because you're not going to be overstimulated, and you're going to have so much more just willpower at your disposal, because your dopamine levels are going to be higher, and you have more motivation for the things that you actually want to do, which is study, make money online, go to the gym, like those things, because you don't actually want to scroll, you want to quit it. So we do that, but then also we need to add the good habits to our lives that improve our mental health, and sort of use those as replacements for the bad habits. So I have a few habits that have really helped me, and these are my favorite ones. So meditation is the first one, journaling is the second one, socializing with good people is the third one, being out in nature and getting sunlight and playing around is the fourth one, and then the fifth one is setting a big goal, so you have a big direction for your life. So with meditation is kind of like you focus on the present moment, and by that I mean you sit down and you close your eyes, and then you breathe in and out, you take full deep breaths, and then you just focus all your attention, manually just focus your attention on the air going up and then going down, right? And then when your mind wanders away from the thought of your breath, when you start thinking about some random bullshit, you start thinking about that fucking TikTok you watched, that guy in school, that bitch, that other bullshit your dad showed you on the fucking news or some shit like that, you get that thought, right? Because all of our, we're gonna experience mind wandering even if we've meditated for 30 years. That's just that's completely normal. We experience mind wandering, our brain starts automatically thinking about some other bullshit, but then we realize that we've done that, and we're like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be meditating, fuck. Because the thing is, we don't actually realize immediately that our mind has wandered. It kind of takes a few seconds. It's kind of like you are one with the thought, if that makes sense. It's kind of a sort of woo-woo concept, but it is valid, it's legit. You realize that you've gotten the other thought, and then the key thing, that the most important step of meditation, is that you bring your focus back to the original thought, which is the breath. So one cycle is you close your eyes, You breathe in and out, you focus on your breath, you get a mind wandering, another thought that pops up, you realize that you've gotten it, and you bring the thought back, your attention back to the original thought. And what happens is that you train your mind to be more mindful and aware of the present moment, which is the antidote to scrolling on TikTok. Because when you're scrolling, you're focusing on new things every few seconds. You're training your mind to have a shit attention span, and there's so many more downstream impacts of that. So meditation is absolutely wonderful. I do it 1 hour a day. Right now, I have done 10 to 20 minutes for the majority of my self-improvement journey. So that's the first habit that I want you to start doing if you haven't already. It's absolutely wonderful. And if you meditate, or if you have meditated a couple of times and you haven't really experienced any gains from it, you haven't experienced any of the benefits really, then I would say to you, like, what would you say to the guy that goes to the gym 3 times, like the fat motherfucker that goes to the gym 3 times and then tells you, I went to the gym 3 times and I still look the same? What would you tell him? Keep going, motherfucker. You've been going 3 times. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know. So if you have that kind of gay mindset, stop that shit immediately. Keep doing it, and progress. Your skill of realizing when your mind has wandered will go up, and you'll be able to do it faster, and you'll get this sort of loop more quickly as time goes on, and you'll gain XP sort of in the skill of meditation and the skill of mindfulness. And as a result, you won't just randomly grab your phone mindlessly and start scrolling. You'll be like, oh man, should I really grab my phone right now? I know I have the urge to do so, but should I really be doing this? You get these sort of snapback moments. You're like, fuck, I probably shouldn't be doing this. And meditation is so wonderful for your mental health. It's kind of like you start appreciating life, really. Like, you just add a multiplier to your fun, to your enjoyment of your life. You can appreciate the small things, and it might sound minuscule, but I'm telling you, as a guy, like, I have 30 minutes screen time. I have a 30-minute screen time. Like, I'm telling you, it is fucking so powerful. So start meditating if you haven't already, and you can literally start with 60 seconds, and then you work your way up. 60 seconds isn't really gonna do shit for you in terms of your actual skill of meditating. But what it is going to do is set you on the right path, and then you can level that up to 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then eventually 10 to 20 minutes a day, which I think is a really good spot for you. You can even go up more than that, 30, 60 minutes if you want to, which I'm doing 60 minutes a day, but it's not a requirement. So meditation is wonderful. And then the second one is journaling. So journaling is when you grab a notebook, you grab a pen, and you write down some of your thoughts. So what journaling does is that, well, there's 2 types of journaling: gratitude journaling and deep journaling. Gratitude journaling is when you write down things that you're grateful for. And what happens then is that if you, for example, write down, I'm grateful for my mother, or the chair that I'm sitting on, or my laptop, even though, like, as silly as that may seem, what will happen is that you'll get these sort of positive, healthy thoughts of gratitude when you're just going through your day. Like, the things that you do manually, like writing the gratitude thought down, or meditating, like the things that you do manually, they become what you do automatically afterwards, because your brain and your brain and your body, they start doing it automatically, because we are wired for familiarity. So, and they're like routine. So if you do something every single day at the same time, like, in general, like, your brain will get comfortable with that, and it will start doing it automatically, really. So you can write things down on a piece of paper that you're grateful for, and you'll start to get these random thoughts of gratitude as you go throughout your day, which is hugely powerful, because you're not in this sort of anxious, agitated, like, lonely, bored, depressed state, which triggers you to go into scrolling on TikTok, because you can numb the pain and you can go into escapism, you know. So gratitude journaling is very powerful. And then deep journaling is when you ask yourself questions about things that you want to find out. For example, yeah man, I fucked up today, and I wasted like 1-2 hours this afternoon scrolling on TikTok. Why did I do that? Yeah, well, I was kind of tired when I came back home, and I just wanted something comfortable with my food before the gym. And yeah man. And then you might be like, well, we might, for example, go directly, instead of going home directly after school in the afternoon and then going to the gym, we might pack our bag and our meal in our backpack that we bring to school, and then we go straight to the gym, and we avoided that sort of time window that we're the most vulnerable in for scrolling on TikTok. So deep journaling, it helps you resolve these questions within you that you can't fix on the surface, you know. It's kind of like removing splinters from your brain, mental splinters, and it's very powerful. I highly recommend it. You can just ask yourself a few questions at the same time as your gratitude journaling. You ask yourself, well, why like, you can just come up with something yourself, but remember that, like, the more you delve into this introspective work yourself, like when you question why you fell into the bad habit of scrolling, for example, and the more you're open and honest with yourself, the more that you'll be better equipped to deal with it, because you won't be hiding anything from yourself, and it's hugely powerful. And then with nature and sunlight and playfulness, I absolutely love this, because it's like when we were children and climbed the trees and picked like the biggest, baddest stick and walked around with amongst our friends or some shit, picked our favorite leaf. We were never fucking depressed. We were never fucking scrolling. We were never like in this state of just boredom and loneliness where we were just fucking consumed by the scrolling, right? We were never in that shit when we were younger. And humans are not supposed to stop living like that just because we become adults. We're still supposed to be out in nature, get some fucking sunlight into your eyes, not being locked in your fucking crusty computer chair like a fucking Wacom or gooner, you know? We're supposed to be out here, play and like fucking climb trees. When was the last time you climbed a tree? For me, it was a few days ago. Like, I do it routinely. It's fucking like, you'll never be fucking depressed when you're climbing a tree. You'll be sort of like, yeah, damn, fuck, I came pretty high up on this shit, right? And it's so good for your mental health, man. Just trust me on this one. Get out, just practically go to a fucking forest area in your wherever you live, and just go for walks, you know, detach from technology, stop touching your phone, and shit like that. So it's hugely powerful, because we as animals, like, we're meant to connect with nature. We're meant to be out here in the wild. And even though normal society tells us that that's weird and that it's childish and that, like, we should just be chasing these sort of materialistic status objects like fucking validation on like Instagram likes or whatever bullshit, this is our biological imperatives. This is our real, like, how we're actually wired, and it's hugely powerful, and it's so good for your mental health, man. So get the fuck off your crusty computer chair, get the fuck out into nature. And then also socializing with the right people. So this works either way. Like, if you socialize with the wrong people, it's gonna have a negative effect on your mental health, and you're gonna become even more like sort of depressed. You're gonna get more symptoms of depression and anxiety and stuff like that, and you're gonna be more likely to go and scroll on TikTok because you want to numb the pain. But if you hang out with people that energizes you rather than take energy from you, it reverses the effect, and it gives you the other effect. It gives you energy. It's fucking awesome. You can talk to people you relate to. I have a few guys in real life that are actually on this path of self-improvement, of achieving great things in life. But you might not have that. You might be the only one in your social circle that thinks like this, that is watching content like this, you know. Your friends in school or some shit, they're probably edging their little fucking peepees right now, and you're watching this kind of content. You might only have yourself, but if that's the case, it's gonna be a bit tougher, obviously. But I would still like go into online communities and see what people you can engage with there. It's not something that I have super that much experience with, but I have some experience with it, and it's absolutely better than spending time with fucking loser people, you know. And you know, you can spend time with if you've got your fucking dog or some shit like that, you can play with your dog, things like that, like socializing with a healthy, mature sort of like-minded people. It's gonna be very good for your mental health as well. And then also the big one for me also when it comes to this is to have a big goal, a big direction in your life that you want to strive towards. Because with mental health, like, especially as men, if we don't have a goal that we're working towards, if we don't have some sort of progress, some sort of achievement that we want to accomplish, then what the fuck are we even doing? You know, like we are here to achieve stuff, to do, to make progress, to go from A to B. And if we don't have that, if we don't have a clear direction, or if we have a bunch of goals but they're all scattered in different directions, we don't know what we should do. You know, it's so much easier to fall into scrolling on TikTok, for example, because you're directionless and you don't really know what to do with your time. That's why we have a timetable. But it's of utmost importance that you have a big goal in your life that feels important to you and that you want to make progress towards, and that you actively do the work that is required to make progress towards. And when you do have this thing, and a bonus, like if you can make it bigger than yourself, like self-transcending, like with this YouTube channel, I want to grow this YouTube channel and spread this message to the young guys around the world that need this sort of advice. And it transcends above me. You know, it's self-transcending. So it's not just about me, it's about you, it's about all the guys that currently watch my channel and the guys that are going to watch my channel in the future. So if you can have a big goal, a big direction, if you can just think for yourself, what things do you want to accomplish in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, that would really mean a lot to you, and start obsessing over that, start getting addicted to that shit instead of scrolling, you know, and yeah, man, it'll do wonders for you and your mental health. So, and then the last thing that I want to remind you of is that go into Google Calendar and create your own timetable. So you click on you search Google Calendar into Google, and then you click on like new event, and then you plot out time blocks for what you're gonna do. First, start with things like your bedtime, your wake up time, at the same time every single day. Weekends aren't a thing, fuck that gay shit. When you're gonna eat at the same times every single day, preferably, and even the same foods. And then you plot your obligations out, like for example, going to school, or if you have some sort of work that you, like a 9-to-5 work or some shit like that, you plot that in. And then after that, you have all of the time that is going to be spent working towards your goal. You're gonna have some time where you're gonna do these habits like meditation, journaling, being out in nature, these sorts of things. And then you're gonna have some time when you're, for example, working out or exercising if you want to build a great physique, or that you're working on your business if you want to make money online, or that you're going to be studying when if you want to get good grades, stuff like that. So you create that, you make it repeat every single week, and then you just obsess over it. You try to just follow it, because this is your ideal day, your ideal week, right? And even if you follow it for 30%, 50%, it's probably better than your average day right now. So don't be upset if you don't think that you'll be able to follow it, that it'll be too hard or require too much discipline. Just try the best to the best of your ability, and make improvements as you go along, right? And then also something that you can do to add a little more accountability to this that I've done. It's a little thing, but I think it's powerful. It's to have a habit tracker on your wall. You grab a piece of paper, you make like columns for the set of habits that you're gonna do: meditation, journaling, nature, sunlight, that stuff. Let's say a workout, let's say working on the biggest task for your business, if that's what you want to do. And you just stick that shit up on your wall, and you write the date on the paper. You can just search up habit tracker and see how it looks. And you have these boxes that you check for each habit of each day. And then you can track your progress. You can have a little bit more accountability, and don't fucking lie to yourself, right? Have it as it is, you know. Don't check a box if you haven't done it, you know. So stick that shit up onto your wall. Maybe you want to go even more extreme like me and have a bunch of papers with a bunch of quotes and shit that you just fucking put all over your wall that reminds you on the path that you're on, right? But a habit tracker will do just fine. So if you can implement the stuff that we covered in this video, you are going to quit scrolling on TikTok. You're going to stop doing it, and you're going to regain so much time that you can put into whatever you want in your life and become the person that you're supposed to be. So yeah, man, you can check out No Scroll Protocol in the description if you're interested. But otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one, bro. See you.